Hi everyone, my name is Jack Ananchenko. I'm the CEO and the co-founder at Stellarsoft. Today I'm joined by Saim Shami from Kifli.hu, the grocery shop company, which is part of the Rohlik Group Hungarian online supermarket network. Kifli was launched as Rohlik's first international operation in Budapest, and today the platform offers 15,000 or even more products with delivery as fast as within 90 minutes. So today we are going to talk about Sim's journey, how he thinks about rebuilding operating systems when scale starts fighting profitability, and where online grocery still breaks, what AI can realistically fix, and what disciplined growth actually looks like right now. Saim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jack. My pleasure.
Absolutely. Same. Always prefer to start with a little introduction about you. On LinkedIn, you've described yourself as someone who comes in when growth has outplaced unit economics and complexity has outgrown intuition. When did you start seeing operations that way?
So basically, it all started at my alma mater, Amazon. I consider that as my alma mater for e-commerce. And I joined Amazon in about after I did my MBA in 2012, 2014 era. And that was a time when Amazon was experiencing heavy growth. And since then, my trajectory has been just a repetition of going into organizations where the scale is on an exponential trajectory, on an exponential curve, and there has been a clear need of moving away from heroics of individuals to actually scaling up systematically. So the same thing got repeated after Amazon in Coupang in Korea, pre-IPO, and then Mercado Libre in Mexico for their growth phase, and Carrefour in the Middle East for their omni-channel. And now I'm here doing exactly the same thing. And as I see this as a pivoting point for most of the businesses where they have to very quickly reorganize themselves away from just being, a product of individual heroics to systematic improvements within the business to grow exponentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And with all of these companies, I mean, big companies in your professional experience, what pattern do you think keeps repeating when a business gets big enough that scale starts creating drag?
The very first thing that all of the businesses ultimately have to realize is the fundamentals of doing business, the business of doing business, which is financial discipline. So there's no business that is immune to getting questions from either the investors, shareholders, or just in general, just getting the sense of urgency on financial discipline as scale goes up. So there is definitely that is a recurring theme that I've seen businesses going into turnaround modes, becoming very much, coming into the phase of that financial business awakening for them. The other thing that I see is common throughout all businesses is moving towards, some people might call it corporate like structures, but actually improving on governance both from a technical perspective and a non technical perspective. So I see financial discipline, governance, and the architecture, the system, the tech architecture, just a lot more maturity over there as a continuous constant theme across the businesses as they try to grow and capture more scale. So there's no moving away from the business, the fundamentals of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you enter a business in that phase, what are the first signals that tell you that the problem is structural and not executional?
I think that's a very interesting question. I think when you enter a business and you sometimes go with a preconceived notion or preconceived idea, not just about what the business would look like, but actually a preconceived idea of a method that you might apply, you could easily get lost. So I think going into a business with an open mind, trying and understanding the business model itself, and trying from scratch really to understand what's going on, understanding the processes, is and being very close to the hard facts and the hard processes of the business and executing yourself, trying to build empathy, with the situations and with the businesses is something that will always help you to identify the problems. Asking people, not really copy pasting playbooks from other experiences or other businesses, is always something that will help you uncover things very fast, very quickly, build and earn trust very quickly to identify whether things are systematic driven or not. Asking the right questions, I think, is extremely important, and really understanding the tech stack behind it. Even in operations, I think one of the biggest issues that I believe that we have is not understanding tech. Tech is behind everything. The architecture of tech is behind everything. And I think understanding that uncovers a lot of issues where you see where tech has helped, where tech has not helped, and where tech is not even deployed to help. So I think those are some of, again, recurring themes that I see across the businesses that I work for so far, which have heavily depended on technology to drive scale and the customer proposition.
I'm sure that you are referring to technology in the broader view, other than the website itself, there is a lot more to that. But given that, I've seen your Kifli's website. It's very good for the grocery shop for sure. And then now, as we are talking about these kind of things, let's dive deeper into Kifli. And then before I ask some, we cover some of the topics about Kifli and your role over there. Can you give us a 1 to 2 sentence overview of what Kifli is?
Kifli is part of a 5-country, 5-region group, the Rolly Group, which is a grocer in Europe. We are very proud of the group's performance, and we're very proud of what this company represents. This is one of the, if not the only, profitable grocer, which is a very mean feat to achieve in the online grocery market, and is live across 5 different countries, and was founded by Tom Chipor from the Czech Republic about 12 years ago in 2012. The company is upwards of $1 billion revenue, which is public information, and has achieved a decent valuation, is well regarded, well respected in the industry for using technology to be able to deliver a profitable business. A break even, I think we broke even last year. We became profitable as a group, and we are very actively trying to grow within across all regions, upwards of 30% growth, which we had last year. So I think this is in crux. The group, as part of the group, the Hungarian entity is Kifli.hu. I represent Kifli.hu and also Sezamo.ro in Romania. So I'm the chief operating officer for the Hungarian and the Romanian entity as part of the group business. The two together make up around 30% of the revenue for the group.
Gotcha. And did I get it right? Or you said that you only became profitable last year at Kifli?
Yes, correct. At group level, we broke even last year, and Q4 we were profitable.
Awesome. Sounds good. Cool. Thank you for the context. Now let's dive a little bit further. So for people who still think that online grocery is structurally weak, what did they misunderstand about the model?
Yeah, I think there is great access from a customer perspective. With grocery, it's not just about grocery and selection. It's about the customer experience. The whole customer experience is a game changer. It's about technology is heavily embedded, and there are miracles that you can do with technology. But apart from the storefront, I think a huge part of this whole online experience is the delivery portion of it. You can actually get away with getting your full shopping done within a time limit that's much smaller than you having to go to a supermarket and then coming back. And from the perspective of the company that I represent and the business I represent, we are geared towards a full basket shop. So we are not geared towards, your 15, 20-minute deliveries with limited SKUs. We're talking about a full family shopping basket. And to be able to get that delivered to your doorstep within, a couple of hours is a whole different level of customer shopping experience, which you can probably not do via a brick and mortar experience where you would have to go and travel to the product rather than the products coming to you in a predefined time with the right quality, with the right level of availability. And I think there's a lot that you can then do by creating that customer experience for a customer directly, not just in grocery, but you can actually expand it to the whole spectrum.
And with all of these operations and technology behind the business, which parts of the model do you think are genuinely durable, and which things do you think will still need to be rebuilt?
I think the basic expectations of the customers will always be there. So there is a 100-year-old problem as far as availability is concerned. There is, supply chain integration. There is a lot of stakeholders involved in making sure that the customer gets the final order. Availability, which is a big problem in brick and mortar shelf availability, for example, is something that, yes, you could bring in accuracy tools to actually show the stock that you have, but that doesn't really solve the problem for the end customer. You really have to integrate suppliers. You still have to build in a lot of tech and a lot of educational learning curve there for the whole industry really to come up to the standards of what an online grocer is looking to fulfill. So I think that is where there is a lot of opportunity still to completely change the customer proposition and really enhance it. A lot of personalization that can come in. And then there are aspects where I think the industry has really got on. The industry has really got on integrating and embedding AI agents in terms of the back-end operation and improving back-end productivity for the business itself to be able to respond to the customer needs very quickly. So if there is a customer personalization, a marketing campaign which is targeted towards educating the customer, or a supplier integration via APIs, which used to take much, much longer, now we are able to provide those scopes. We could really work upon them pretty quickly now internally. So I think the industry has done a lot of work on AI improvements, embedding robotics, different kinds of automation, etc. But there are still those fundamental problems from, let's say, an availability perspective. That still, there's a lot that can be done over there. There will still always be the fundamentals for the customers, be it pricing, the value of the basket, the differentiation and segmentation. And all of these things, I think, are easy to scale, to fix, to improve and evolve in an e-commerce environment, in an online environment, which is more tech-based, tech-oriented, compared to, let's say, a brick and mortar, because there was just never enough emphasis or need to trigger a lot of evolutionary technology there.
Absolutely. And with all of these issues that you mentioned, and from your experience being at the company, where does complexity compound fastest as the business scales?
I think when you are trying to integrate and incorporate new technology, and when you are trying to do a lot of diversification and segmentation at the same time, that is where your tech stack, your tech architecture, and your hard technology can have a lot of issues to scale. You trying to build the tech that would last for forever currently is just not possible. You will have to evolve, the technology that you might need for a 3 or 4 hour delivery proposition compared to a 60-minute proposition, which is, speed is the future. So I think that's where I see the next level of roadblock. Let's say, I wouldn't really like to call it a roadblock. I think that's the next level of challenge that the companies will face in the future, is where they would want to stretch as much selection, but they will also go in and hunt for speed. I see that coming very soon. I know that there was this big wave of gorillas and GoPuffs and the 15-minute express delivery companies. I don't think that sentiment will completely go away. I think that will reemerge. The need will be to then look at the complexity of bringing that speed with a much higher selection, and to be able to do that profitably is like that's going to triple or exponentially increase the challenge that the companies will face in terms of the complexity getting compounded, because then you're trying to not make a trade-off. The customer won't have to do a trade-off. You're really trying to push the envelope, and really trying to not have the customer make those trade-offs. The customer should be able to get everything delivered with speed and with the maximum selection possible, while at the same time you as a business are not at risk of having to struggle financially.
So, have you seen those videos from China where they deliver the food with their drones or something weird? They kind of like they fly over. Do you think it's the future for Europe as well?
Yeah, I think that I truly believe that there are companies and minds and businesses and there are thought leaders who are going to venture into this in the future. We have time and again seen disruptors coming into the industry, so there's never really a quiet moment. And we have seen how, for example, companies like Gorillas that I referred to, we know that how much invested they were in their idea and how willing they were to go after the segment that they had created, a very new way of servicing the customers. I think it's just inevitable. I think one thing we all have to realize is that it's inevitable that technology of that level will actually become functional sooner than we believe. So I think as businesses, as entrepreneurs in this industry, in the D2C environment, there will be innovation and there will be challenges that will be coming our way very soon, and we have to get ready, prepared, and in fact just continue to have that lab test approach of new ideas and continue to work on R&D as well as a normal tech company would, because if we don't, then this would be a very easy space for new businesses to disrupt.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned that customer experience basically is one of the master metrics that you are watching. How do you stop the local teams from improving their KPIs that quietly damage that experience? Like most of the teams, they do have KPIs, but sometimes it's...
The customer-focused KPIs are day in, day out, I think, the mantra in most customer-focused organizations. I think it's the same thing that I saw in Amazon. It's the same thing I saw in most of the tech companies that I've just mentioned. And I feel that the advancement and evolution in these businesses that we see now and the strength we see with these companies is because of their customer focus. I have never seen in any of these organizations, and I'm coming from operations, where we focus on cost before the customer every single day, every hour. The beauty of this business is that it spits out KPIs on how we've serviced the customers in the last 15 minutes. Were we available for the customer? Did we do a perfect order for the customer? How we performed on quality? What was the voice of the customer? And what is it that we need to pivot on the day? So these companies, I think they were built on the sole, the sole driver for their DNA has been customer obsession. And this was clearly missing in the proposition that the customers had previously, and hence these companies were able to take over. And yes, they were able to execute it via technology and everything. But I think fundamentally the customer obsession is very much confounded within the DNA for most of these organizations. And I see it many levels down on the floor. I basically see the execution of customer KPIs rather than the business metrics. Now, business metrics, of course, extremely important. We have to survive as businesses at the end of the day so that we continue to serve the customer. But we use technology to solve a lot of barriers for the customers as well, to be able to continue to engage them and to continue to get custom from them. So I think the reason why the business models have stuck around for years now in the e-commerce industry, and the reason why the businesses became so huge, has constantly been about customer obsession.
Absolutely. Well, have you tried technology-wise or processes-wise that looked smart in the boardroom, but then failed in the real operation?
This is a very interesting question. You know, most boards would push you to go after technology of the day, and I'd say the same thing about AI as well. And what I've really liked is that the smart boardrooms are still asking the same question every time: that does this work for us? Does this work for our customers? And how detailed we are willing to go into understanding whether it really works for our customers. So we are bringing on technology that works for our current customer. But another very interesting thing I really liked about what you just mentioned, and I'm sort of inspired by the idea, is that we are constantly thinking about and being questioned, from the board, from the founder just the other day, where he was challenging us to think about what the customer proposition would look like in the next year or 2 years. Where do we really want to exponentially go to? And that might require a completely different technology. So we were not afraid within the room to think about, a track of technology that might be completely different from what we already have. And as you know, hardware is pretty capital intensive, but the team was not blocked by the idea that we have this technology and we just need to make it work somehow. And that was very, very important for coming from the board and from the founder, that we really need to really openly think about what is the technology that's going to help us serve now, but what is the technology that's going to help us serve our customers 2, 3 years from now. And then again, going back to fundamentals, I would say from my experience in the Middle East or from Latin America and other regions where sometimes technology does not make financial sense, is that really opening up the business case mentality, that traditionally businesses have used business cases as a go, no go decision, as a stage gate. Really opening up the idea of what technology really brings for the customers, how it will improve the perfect orders, hence how much more orders you will get and how much more customers you can get on the platform by using a certain piece of technology. And then also validating why we need it and why it would work and why it would not work, and being willing to actually go the extra mile to really analyze and assess the technology and its benefits comparatively, compared to the other technologies that are available out there as well. And on the AI track, what I would like to say is that people are working on AI agents all the time, but I do like now how people are pivoting to really understand, is working on an agent, it has it really given us some real benefit? Has there been a real productivity benefit? Because it's an amazing tool, but now people are measuring the benefit of agentification as well, and they're monitoring and controlling the productivity gain that we get out of it.
Absolutely. On the AI though, where do you see the biggest real near-term wins today? Like logistics, warehouse workflows, financial operations, support team, forecasting, something else? Like real that like the other day I had a conversation with the AI automation person, and then she's been with AI for years now, so basically since the beginning of GPT. So she said that, I mean, of course, this is a buzzword these days, but then at the same time, like lots of people still underestimate the eventual result. So or overestimate the eventual result, because lots of people, they think, okay, so we'll automate this, and then we'll replace this with people. But then at the end of the day, the amount of tokens that it takes the agents to fulfill the job is worth more than the salary of the person that used to be doing that. I mean, of course, it's cool to be automated. It's cool to be an AI-based company, but at the same time, like, you should be wise. So from your perspective and from the online grocery shopping perspective, from Kifli's perspective, again, to reiterate the question, where do you think the real near-term wins are today?
I think AI is an amazing tool, like any tool, if used wisely, if used properly, and if you have people who have the right vision to implement it, who can ask the right questions. It still is intellectually driven by a human being. If they're willing to bring in the right benefits, it's amazing. The technology is, of course, being deployed in most of the cost centers. It's not in the growth centers as much, but in the cost centers part of most businesses I see where there's a lot of mundane work where you would want to, remove a lot of supplier escalations, for example. You want to replace human beings, with a lot of data processing and data analysis, reports, alerts. Where a human is being triggered to take an action, triage of things, absolutely useful, is working if you feed it properly, and yeah, absolutely great. I agree with you and agree with what the other participants said, that it's not going to replace bad architecture. If your system has in your process have a fundamental issue, it's not going to replace it. So you can create an extra workflow with an AI agent for escalation and conflict resolution. But if you're not eliminating the conflict in the beginning in your process or in your system, and you have to hard code it out of your system architecture, your tech design, or your product design, then AI is not going to, help it. Yes, it's going to do some patchwork of sorts, some band-aid that I see that AI is being used for band-aid, but we need smart questions and smart people to go back and actually check the architecture itself. But having said that, I do see the benefits of AI certainly, where it is taking a lot of boring work away, non-smart work away. That's absolutely true. One thing it can never replace is the human intention. And as long as even a single human being is involved within the ecosystem, within the setup of the business, it will not replace the human intention. So the way a human being is going to negotiate with a stakeholder, that cannot get replaced by an AI sending 10 escalations in email or phone calls to the same stakeholder. The stakeholder might still, at the end of the day, because they're a human being, would only respond to a human when they take the 11th escalation. So I think we have to be open to AI. We need to. You have the right people use it for the right advantages. It has numerous advantages for us, especially in a tech-driven business. There's so many tech processes and tech decisions that it's made it so much easier to integrate. You do not have to depend on just APIs and the old ways of integration. So it has huge advantages over there. But at the same time, humans will have to become even smarter of how we use AI effectively, and we still need a very high level of intention and soft skills that go with it in terms of leadership to be able to drive it in the right direction.
Absolutely. You once said, I don't run operations. I design systems where profitability becomes inevitable. How much of AI is in this side, and what does it mean in practical terms?
So previously, it was very much digital driven. I would bring in digital setups. I would bring in create systems that will, and governance as well, that will sort of self-sustain. But now, absolutely, it's AI driven. It's creating direction. One of the biggest issues that we have is how we create direction for people as leaders. And in terms of creating direction and making sure that you make the right decision, I think AI is helping a lot more in terms of not just creating data lists and data charts, but actually executing on your behalf the right directions for people and what they need to look at. And at the same time, creating a control mechanism of auditability as well, that whether an execution was executed or whether an activity was executed or not. And then at the same time, creating the right sort of advisory for you in terms of what trends formulate out of, your directions, the reactions to it, and then what actually happened in terms of the impact that you wanted to create. So AI has certainly simplified the whole system, which was previously based on data charts, a governance team, or me having to put 5 meetings and a schedule of meetings to give direction, execute, and then get the feedback. It's become a lot more dynamic from that perspective with the use of modern tools, AI, and technology.
What's the boundary though where humans' judgment still beats the models in retail?
I think the boundary is always the limitation of AI and its intention and what we have fed the AI. I think that's it will always be limited, and there's always a lot more that we can push it to go into a specific direction to evolve. AI will not create the direction for the next 3 years of what I should how I should wow my customer. So the human creativity and the intention of the human behind the business, the leader's intention, is something that AI cannot replicate. Even if I want to wow my customers in the next 6 months and I have a proposition for it, AI will be able to execute it for me, but AI will not really go to that length of me pushing myself and pushing the business model that hard to be able to deliver for the customer that the customer does not see yet, does not even exist yet in the market. So I think that the blue ocean thinking, the blue ocean strategy, the strategic thinking is still going to rely on the right leaders to create that intention. So I'm constantly seeing that intention, the right intentions are still what human beings are bringing in. Functionally, strategically, evolutionary for the business, it's just still coming from the heart and soul of the human being, that's behind the business, that really wants to deliver something, the entrepreneur, the disruptors in the industry. They are the ones who are still holding on to that idea and really pushing it really hard. That drive behind what the customer is going to see in the future will still be here. AI will not bring that, and that is a huge differentiator of how you are capturing markets and how you are capturing customers and how you're solving problems for them and earning their trust before
Cool.
AI can be brought in to execute and to help you execute.
How often do you review the customer experience signals?
So we are very. I would say I'm lucky to be in an environment where I get the feedback on the decisions that we made for the customers almost every 15-20 minutes. It's a very
Oh,
live
okay.
environment.
Mm-hmm.
This is the fundamental difference between, let's say, an offline store and an online store. That in an offline store, maybe there is a certain lead time between finding out how the customer felt and also the lack of mechanism as well. I can't do not necessarily have contact points with my customers who are shopping in my store today. I have the contact points on the online shop. I know exactly how much delays I have already, what the customer might suffer at the end of the experience. I know it already, much ahead. So the system is just intrinsically built around the customer, and tech gives you the leverage to be able to fine tune your decisions almost on a daily basis. You know exactly how many customers are placing orders for today, sometimes for tomorrow. You know what
Mm-hmm.
product they're liking, not liking. The customer feedback in the customer care center, you're very much able to pick that feedback very quickly the moment it arrives, and then you're able to
Mm-hmm.
action on it. You're able to place the right ordering to the suppliers, etc. You're seeing trends within your online store, how something is overselling or underselling, and you're trying to adjust that with the supplier very quickly. So those signals actually, and reacting to those signals, is basically your competitive advantage, which is driven by human intention, then executed through tools, digital tools, tech, and AI.
And how do you make that cadence of reviewing the data useful instead of noisy?
So definitely we use tools and we use intention and we use routines. So even as an e-commerce business, what you would see is that there is a differentiator. Leadership is a key differentiator still. People are still involved. So what we focus on, what our leaders focus on as a business will always remain important. That is not going away. So AI and tech will always spit out great facts for you. You will have to have the necessary judgment, but at the same time, you create operational routines, some golden standards on how you're going to create accountability for the KPIs on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. So on a day-to-day basis, you try and fix issues for the customers. On a weekly basis, you look at the trends, and on a monthly basis, you're basically focusing on more R&D perspective on how you're going to really long-term solve those problems for people. And that's where I think well-intended leaders make an exponential difference.
Great. As companies get more efficiency focused and like review all of this data, analytics, reports, they see what challenges they've got, what success they've got, etc. What is, from your perspective, what is the risk of over-optimizing and hurting the very customer trust that got them there?
This is, I think, every company and every business will come to this point many times, actually, as they try to optimize the processes and optimize the business, and they forget to dream. And I think there will always be sprints. In sprints, you will over optimize, and in sprints, you would go back to dreaming again. Because you have, as a business, if you want to survive, you will have to constantly wow the customer. So going back to the customer, and I think that's where, again, as I said, there are, you need to rely on the visionary leaders. You need to have people within the team, within the boards, who actually would bring you back, to look at the very heart and soul of where you started and why you started and why you were able to capture the customers in the first place. Because, like one of the things that I mentioned, for example, was businesses could continue inside in their own thinking to optimize on the technology that they currently have. And they would work for the next 4 or 5 years to optimize that tech so much that the same stack, amazing, 20, 30% better. But by that time, a new customer proposition backed by a new technology could completely take the customers away, might wow the customers in a completely different direction, and you could very easily get disrupted. So I think that's where visionary founders come in. That's where visionary leaders come in. And their proximity to their businesses is extremely crucial, pivotal. That's where the boards come in, and I think that's where the senior leadership of the business comes in, where we should not completely think about optimization, but actually we need to optimize towards the customer needs and towards the dream that we had in the beginning, and what really caught the customer, and I think that's where we will always need the visionary leaders and visionary people within the business to take us there. And if you go completely hands-off mode and you only rely on optimizers within the company, and if you do not promote diversity of ideas and diversity of biases, as we just mentioned, then yes, we can actually really go into that direction, as you very much mentioned. And we have so many examples of so many great companies who only became profit centers and not growth centers at the end of the day, and would actually reduce in size and shrink in size year over year. So I think, again, technology will not save. It's about intention, and humans bring the intention.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I do agree that visionaries have to be there in any business. But given that we're talking about operations and how to optimize operations and like your role in your career and where you become useful, the last question to wrap it up: what is one operating principle for the next generation of retailer retail leaders. What is that one operating principle that they will need, especially in the AI-heavy environment?
So I believe that what I've learned over the years and what I've evolved towards over the years is that operations, supply chain especially, and I consider myself as part of the supply chain business. This whole function exists to be able to grow the business towards the customer proposition. Many a times, yes, costs are important, and many a times we do come into the businesses thinking that our sole goal is to make the baseline forecasts and to cut costs, etc. But actually, we need to bring in the mindset of growth for the business, and whatever I do should be reducing barriers for the company or for the business to be able to service 20% more customers, or increase the speed for the customers by 20-30%. These are all growth levers at the end of the day, and how we wow the customer. So operations job is to be able to have the company architected in a way where operations can deliver more and more for the customers. And this is my daily battle. And it doesn't matter what sort of technology comes in, AI or else, they should absolutely be looking to use every single lever available at their disposal, and quickly jump onto it and learn it to embed it within the system to be able to grow for the business. I think enabling growth is what operators should believe in, is what I've learned. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Same. It was a sharp conversation, I would say. I really like how you think about profitability, and how you think that profitable growth doesn't really come from one tool, one dashboard, one report, one heroic theme. We are talking about redesigning the systems so that customer experience and economics start reinforcing each other. So I think that's like, from my personal perspective, I think it's a much harder game, but it's the only durable one. For anyone listening, you guys I'll leave all of the links down below to Kifli.hu as the supermarket, and then Saim's personal LinkedIn page if you want to get in touch with him and discuss some different topics. Saim, in the meantime, thank you for being open, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Thoroughly enjoyed it, Jack. Thank you so much. Thank you for the pleasure.